What's up, guys? Lightwater here, and finally, I have finished my last healer. Thank God. It was a blast. Resto Druid. I actually had a lot of fun. I feel like this is the one I'm the most proud of. We didn't really find anything like, oh, crazy, but I'm the most proud of this one because I think the math was pretty difficult, and I was pretty methodical with my approach, and I never really felt like on some of the other healers, I literally would go for a walk around the block just because I was so stressed out. This one, I felt like I always knew what I needed to do. It did still take like 13 hours, 14, 15 hours. I don't even know. It's 1:25 p.m. I started at like 9 p.m. yesterday, so it's been quite a bit, but we're done. We're done, and I can report to you guys my findings. Hopefully, I didn't make any mistakes this time. I don't want to have another addendum video. It seems to be a trend that I'm getting shit for, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, so where do we start? Here's the basic information. Of course, Google Doc's going to be in the below if you guys want to follow along and whatnot, but in typical Lightwater fashion, it's all over the place, but so I did, the testing with all the other stats I did the healers with. 500 mastery for Resto Druid was 7.15%. Of course, that was the huge hurdle because, as you guys are, I'm sure if you're a Resto Druid, you know it. That basically, whether or not you parse, whether or not you do really good healing, is all about your ability to min-max your mastery stacks. Okay, I don't care what anybody else says. That is how you decide what a good Resto Druid is, in my opinion. Unless you're playing like a haste build that doesn't want mastery stacks, but I digress. Anyways, I tried to include as much information as I could. Nourish on multiple stacks, regrowth with multiple conditions, rejuve with the talent, Swiftman with the conduit, like every single thing. There was just constantly other numbers. There was more scenarios for what a spell could be for Resto Druid than any other healer. So for example, like let's take Regrowth for example. Regrowth has two different scenarios just in of itself, right? There's regrowthing a person that has no hots, and there's regrowthing a person that has a regrowth hot, because you get plus 40% crit chance on them. So that's the first step. Then you have to figure out, well, do you have abundance? How many other hots are on them? All these things start like stacking up and changing the efficiencies and really changing all the math, right? And so I basically did all of the numbers with a lot of the talents and stuff included, like all the groundwork here. And then I went through methodically with the, here's, you can see some of this stuff is pretty insane. Like here's regrowth plus the conduit. Here's regrowth on the same target. Assuming that you cast it immediately, so you gimp the hot, but remember, if you recast the hot on somebody right away, you actually get the duration plus 30%. So I did it as that for the math. This conduit here is the empowered conduit for free regrowths for when you have a clarity regrowth. This is 5 stacks of abundance, and then here's casting regrowth on a target that already has regrowth, plus your 5 stacks of abundance, plus the conduit. It gets really nutty. And different because the mana cost changes, plus the crit goes up, but it's crit plus your crit passive, plus your passive crit. So I had to make sure to do things really precise because it's just how the math works. Nourish, I tried, but poor Nourish just blows. I mean, I feel like anybody that played the beta already knows that, but I was hoping Nourish was going to be good. It's not. So, unfortunate. Maybe when we can stack so much mastery, it might start to do some backflips and change the math around, but I don't know how much. I don't know. I'd have to do the math, but maybe like 1500 mastery or something, it might start to be different. But there's no scenario where you get to stack like 6 hots, stack 1500 mastery, and just heal like one target, right? It's like so impractical. It'll never happen. Except for like the one fight Kill Jaden where maybe you can heal the boss. I haven't been able to figure out if you can actually heal that boss directly, or if you have to do it with the mechanics. Anyways, so here's all this data. Overgrowth. That was a fun one, the theory craft. I like knew it was gonna be shit, but I still had to do all the work for it, and even then, it's a bit of a clusterfuck because any druid who's using overgrowth, like any good druid, already has a life bloom out. So you're like gimping yourself of a life bloom unless you cast overgrowth when you happen to not have a life bloom out, which is kind of weird. I mean, it's like you're asleep at the wheel or something, or just to happen to line up. Plus, like, I hate the idea of overgrowth because it's like supposed to be this cooldown heal, right? But you're just putting hots on a target. So it's like, oh my god, fucking ally 15 needs healing really quick. Overgrowth. And now we wait. It's like, it's like the worst feeling, right? Who wants a cooldown that's a bunch of hots? Nobody. Like, that's the worst feeling. If you want a cooldown, you want instant healing. You want instant boom bang, Being not let's sit around and wait for our overgrowth to actually tick. I mean, I understand why this is good in PvP. So yeah, for PvP it'll probably be really good. Soul of the Forest math was really interesting. Turns out that it's perfectly fine to use it with regrowth or wild growth, but not rejuve. So just according to the situation, Okay, so I knew this was going to be ridiculous. I had to do a sim first, like a simulation of like a regular fight without any talents. So like this is how it would break down. And so I used this to slowly work my way through all the talents and figure out what was actually good. Abundance won by a decent amount, and even though Scenario Ward is more efficient, like is really efficient, Abundance changes your bottom efficiencies, and you spend so much mana doing all of the like Abundance stuff that it was definitely worth it. And also I knew Abundance was going to scale harder than Scenario Ward, so if it beats it initially, it's always going to win. So moving forward, that was really good information to know. That raised the total healing amount. I went really slow, and I kind of wish I had done all the other healers like this to see how like the talents really reflect and change how much healing the class does over time. So now we know our new like rotation. We'll spend half of our filler mana essentially doing half rejuves, half regrowths. We have a new like filler percent, right? So 1% mana equals 144% spell power coefficient. Now with Soul of the Forest versus Cultivation versus Tree Form. This was a fun one. I didn't think Soul of the Forest was going to win. It won by a landslide. It's just a lot of extra healing every 15 seconds. And it's so much more that I don't even think like you can make a case for Tree Form or Cultivation. Like it really is that much more. And even if Cultivation got somehow doubled, it still doesn't beat Soul of the Forest. And so that I was surprised at. So that moves us down to the next row, Overgrowth, Spring Blossoms, and there was the Tranquility talent. The Spring Blossoms just destroys all of them by far. Spring Blossoms is like an amazing talent for raid healing. Just so much free healing. I mean, Spring Blossoms is worth more than the mushroom itself, just because of the mastery heals. And it does about the same amount of healing. So obviously you want a hot, like an extra hot just on like half the raid pretty much the whole time. It's so insane. Also, something most people don't know is haste actually double dips on Spring Blossoms. So and the way that works is your mushroom ticks faster the more haste you have. Then Spring Blossoms itself is a hot, therefore getting applied more because it's applied when your mushroom tick heals. So you're getting more Spring Blossoms, and then they're healing for more because you're haste. So the skill is really good with haste. Okay, that leaves us to the last row. Flourish and Photosynthesis at this point kind of tied. Technically, Flourish beats it out if you put Flourish on yourself. Sorry, I'm mixing up the names. Photo beats out Flourish if you put Photosynthesis on yourself. So you put the life bloom on yourself for the hot increase. Now, of course, this... you do lose the life bloom healing, which is a huge chunk. And so if that was the only thing at play here, I would say that they're like even. But moving on with like the legendaries and how things scale and your conduits, it becomes clear that Photosynthesis is the winner by far. And I'll get to that in a little bit. So what starts to happen is you get to the legendaries, right? And it was not close. The Dark Titans lesson is just so insane. Even though it reduces the healing of life bloom by 10%, it doesn't affect the bloom heal, and it's more than just twice as many free regrowth procs, because you're increasing, because you can put a life bloom on yourself, so that increases how fast your hots tick by 20%. So you go from a 100% proc chance for free regrowths to like 240%, right? Because you have 2 hots at 120% each, 2 times 120%. So it's almost 2.5 times the number of free regrowths. And with the conduit that empowers your regrowths, it just really starts to snowball, right? Also, it's sort of exponential. So the more mana you can, or more free regrowths you have, the more mana you can spend on rejuves, therefore buffing your regrowths, making them even cheaper and crit more often because of abundance. Also, it just means more hots out in general. So yeah, also, if you run the Dark Titan's Lesson, you can get both the bloom and the haste increase, which means you can get the bloom hot heals on a tank. It's just so much flexibility. It's insane. Being able to just have double life blooms up and be able to just get the haste buff and cover tank healing at the same time. It's just too good. It just beats everything out by so much. And honestly, it kind of saves the build, because Resto Druid prior to this legendary is kind of looking a bit weak, honestly. Compared to what the other healers can do. So the Dark Titan's Lesson really saves the build. The Rejuve legendary, which I didn't put the math down here for, if you went like all haste and you had photo and you kept life on yourself, it's like something like a 28% increase to Rejuve healing. But the problem is Rejuve healing is garbage. Like, Rejuve is a garbage spell. Just simply put, I mean, it's pretty much there as an application for mastery and as a vehicle to like use things like cultivation or just to buff regrowths or use it for abundance, right? So the problem is with that legendary, you want to spam rejuves because your rejuves have a chance per heal to copy themselves. But if rejuve doesn't do any healing itself, then you're sort of in this weird spot, right? So I didn't even bother because rejuve is such a trash spell. You're doing so much of your healing from like your mushroom, from tranquility, from wild growth, from free empowered regrowths, yada yada yada. Okay. Yeah. And if you guys want to read what I have written here, yeah, it'll be down below. Conduits. Okay, so, and also covenants. Kindred Spirits is actually pretty good. It replicates 33% of your, or 30% of your tank healing for 10 seconds. So I have that sort of reflected here. Also, if you just use it on yourself, it's a 15% healing increase for 10 seconds every minute, which you can obviously use on every tranquility. So it's not bad. The conduit, the conduit for it was okay. Adaptive Swarm was a pretty cool ability. Oddly enough, the 20% buff that it gets for hots doesn't apply to itself, but Adaptive Swarm is considered a mastery hot, so it'll increase your other hots by a mastery percent, and itself is increased by your mastery. So I thought that was sort of interesting. Convoke to Spirits is just like amazing. I have it at plus 6.4%, and that's assuming that only 2/3 of your spells are healing spells. I don't know exactly how it works, and I tested a little bit, but I'm like restricted to the testing area, and there's no allies there, so it runs out of like targets and just starts firing spells at the target dummies. So, like, I don't know. Let's see. Ravenous Frenzy. Ravenous Frenzy is kind of a weird one. What do you think? Shoo. What's going on? Okay. Ravenous Frenzy. This was kind of a weird one, right? Because you're almost always going to use Ravenous Frenzy with like a buff or some kind of important moment. So, like passively, it's like 3%, but maybe if you use it really well, you could get like another 50% out of it. This is kind of like feely crafty math. I hate when I do this, but I don't know. I'm gonna put it around like 4%, 4.5%. Yeah, it's just kind of one of those weird ones, right? Let's see. Endless Thirst was actually a decent increase to it because it adds like a decent amount of crit to it. But yeah, okay. Conduits. The throughput conduits. Flash of Clarity is your best one. With the amount of clear casting procs you are going to get with double life blooms, this is going to be like paramount. I mean, I was testing and I was getting like usually 2 free regrowths per life bloom cast, like per 15 seconds. That's insane. 2 free regrowths per 15 seconds is like half the regrowths you'd be using anyways. So half your regrowths being empowered by 32% is really insane. These things are going to hit really hard. Like this is where your healing is coming from, are these empowered regrowths. Like this is what it's all about. And you're always going to try to put a regrowth onto a rejuve target or onto a, you know, something that has spring blossoms or preferably another regrowth target, right? Regrowthing the same target is very good. Plus 40% crit chance is like plus 40% healing. Flora recycling. This is like whatever. Swiftman gets a portion of the consumed hot. It just doesn't turn out to be that much. Ready for anything. It reduces the cooldown nature of swiftness. It's cool, but doesn't really add that much HPS in the course of the fight. Unstoppable growth is your second best conduit. It says your wild growth falls off 32% less over time. I tested a decent amount, and it looks like your wild growth normally goes from like 100% healing to like 63%. So 32% less of that is about 11.84% increase to your wild growth healing. So assuming you cast wild growth on cooldown, this is about a 2% HPS increase. Soulbinds. Yeah, once I did all the math, did all the bonuses, I think the play, guys, is you go Weaver. Yeah, you go Weaver, you go Night Fae. You use Convoke the Spirits. The Convoke the Spirits is going to be in the Spring Blossoms buff, so you'll have 12% haste that entire time while you're convoking. I think that's going to be a really good wombo combo. Any overhealing you do, in which with hots you overheal all the time, is going to get Empowered Chrysalis. It just seems like a solid Soulbind and Covenant combo. You know, it gives you like another cooldown, which this build's kind of lacking because this build's like consistent HPS. Let's see, final thoughts. Conduits, Unstoppable Growth, Flash of Clarity, Soulbind, Weaver, Covenant, Night Fae. Legendary, you want the Dark Titan's Lesson. Talents is going to be Abundant Soul of the Forest, Spring Blossoms, and Photosynthesis. You could run anything else, or like the other stuff. It's up to you. I don't really have any strong opinions about that stuff. What kind of healer is this? You're like a spot healer. You do AoE cleave healing with Wild Growth every 10 seconds. You know, farm a lot of free regrowth, so you're going to hit really hard. You always want to land those onto rejuve targets. You should be thinking every time you're healing, you find the lowest health target in the raid, rejuve regrowth. Find the next lowest health person in the raid, rejuve regrowth. And if you get around to the next lowest health person, they already have a rejuve regrowth, perfect. Regrowth them again, right? Regrowthing a target that already has rejuve regrowth is going to buff your regrowth by quite a bit. 40% extra from the passive of the crit, plus you're now healing something that has 2 hots, so it's going to be considered 2 times mastery buff, right? Hopefully they have Spring Blossoms as well, so that's 3x. Maybe they have a Wild Growth too, so that's 4x. You know, it's all about stacking masteries, right? You really want to like multiply your bonuses, right? Wild Growth the target, rejuve that target, regrowth that target, regrowth that target again, right? Just like min-max these hots, right? And if it overheals a little bit, that's fine because you got the conduit, right? Or the the Soulbind. Sorry guys, I'm a bit wired on coffee, and it's been a long night, but I hope I'm not talking too fast. I'm a bit cracked out right now. Let's see, what else can I tell you guys? Obviously always keep your mushroom down. Always use all of your free regrowths right away. You can't get another clarity proc until you use your regrowth, so it's really important that you use it ASAP. Always make sure you put a fresh life bloom on yourself before you cast Trank. so you get the full benefit of photosynthesis because plus 20% haste will apply to the hots. Let's see. Oh yeah, if you innervate yourself, or if you innervate another person getting 50% reduction in the mana cost, spam rejuves. You're gonna need to spam rejuves, you know, occasionally anyways to buff your regrowths. But if you spam a bunch of rejuves out during your innervate, after your innervate, it's like you get another innervate because all of your regrowths will be almost free because of the abundance stacks. You could easily get like 10, 12 stacks of abundance out during that time, you know, reducing the cost of your regrowths by like 60, 70, 80%. And obviously they're all going to crit 100%, right? Because your base crit plus, you know, if you're healing regrowth targets already. So obviously cast wild growth if you're innervated. Yeah, in general, guys, you're going to put a life plume on the tank and a life plume on yourself, giving yourself the 20% increased healing to hots and giving yourself the bloom healing on the tank. You get the best of both worlds. You also want to keep like a rejuve, regrowth, you know, spring blossoms on that tank, right? And between all those hots, the bloom heal will just tick, 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 tick all the time, non-stop. And it's not reduced by the legendary. It's just going to be a lot of juicy free healing. And I think if you play Resto Druid at a reasonable skill and you take advantage of the mastery, you should be able to do just as much as a Resto Shaman or a Holy Priest. It's still looking like the melee, like Monk and the melee Paladin are still like the winners of HBS. But I think the reliability and the flexibility of Resto Druid, it's okay. Like, it's not bad to have one, honestly. And I think they're going to be really strong spot healers, and I think these regrowths are going to hit really hard. And it's going to be a lot of efficient, good healing. A lot of good spot healing, lots of passive AoE healing. Just an all-around good healer. And here's the thing that Resto Druid brings that nobody else can. It is the greatest single target healer in the game. A lot of people don't know this. I don't know why. But because of the mastery and the hots and the bloom heal and the photosynthesis, everything put together, no one can beat a Resto Druid in single target healing. So, and there's a couple fights where this is really good, right? Kel'Thas, plus when you heal the ad in the Huntsman fight or whatever it's called. There's like, he summons an ad and you have to like finish healing it. I don't know if it's going to be like an important thing, but and if tanks for whatever reason are getting smashed and need a lot of self-healing, or if you have to heal people to bleeds, like Resto Druid is going to be really good at focusing on a target and just slamming like empowered regrowths on a target that has a bunch of hots already and just reaping the reward. Okay, final thoughts. I think Resto Druid is gonna be pretty fun, guys. I think there's a lot of, I like the mastery aspect of Resto Druid a lot. I played Resto Druid a lot in the past, and I've had a lot of success on it. In WoD I played it a lot. It's been a while. I played it in Uldir. Played a lot in Mythic Plus. I really like Resto Druid. One of the really cool things about this build, guys, is you don't have to change it at all for 5-man. This is very similar to like what's going to be best for 5-mans probably. So that's cool. I guess that's it. I feel like I was talking so fast on this video that we got done in a lot faster time. So you might have to slow this thing down. Who knows? I guess we have some more time to talk about things. What should we talk about? Oh, you can run Flourish, by the way. But it definitely does make the build, like the overall raw HPS, a lot worse, but it would allow you to another cooldown. It's not the end of the world if you run Flourish, but I personally wouldn't. I think there's plenty of classes that do cooldowns better than Druid. And Druid trying to pretend to be something it's not is like a big mistake, right? I think you guys are going to see a lot of Resto Druids out there going like Flourish, Tree of Life, Scenario Ward, maybe getting like Ravenous Frenzy or something, or trying to convoke the spirits with this. And I think that's great and all, and they're going to try so hard to make it work, and then it's just not going to be that good raw HPS, because once their cooldowns are over, they're just going to flop like a fish. They're going to do absolutely nothing. They're going to go trying to do healing. That's not very efficient. Whereas this is like a very high raw passive HPS build. And also, like, even if you do the whole like Tree of Life, Flourish, Scenario Ward, plus like a Ravenous Frenzy or Convoke, you're like a ghetto Mistweaver. or like somebody else who has really high burst. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of it, and the numbers don't support it at all, really. I mean, I spent a lot of time doing the flourish math, the tree of life math, and they're just not close. I'm sorry. Maybe I did my math wrong. Always a chance, but it just does not look like it. I think I don't have much else to say. Hopefully they buff Nourish in the future. I would love to see a playstyle with that. Yeah, just try to always regrowth the target that has rejuve. Make sure to keep both your life blooms up. I suggest making a lot of weak auras, guys. Weak aura for your mushroom, weak aura for your 2 life blooms, weak aura for your swiftman, weak aura for your wild growth. Just weak aura everything, you know. And then once you have all your weak auras to tell you how to play the game, you could just focus on rejuving and min-maxing regrowths on targets with hots. Because that's where all the real healing is going to come from. Like the healing that you get control over, right? You can only pick the initial target of wild growth. You can't pick the targets that your mushroom heals. You know, your tranquility just heals everybody, right? There's a lot of like healing that's outside of your control, like your Sarah's gift and stuff like that, right? Also use nature swiftness on cooldown. I feel like that's a given. One cool thing is if you nature swiftness with Soul of the Forest, it is actually a 6x regrowth, and then if it crits, obviously that's like a 12x regrowth, and then if you use that onto a target that had like a lot of hots, like, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be so overkill, but if you just want to see like a really big crit for fun, you can do it. It's really funny. It will hit it'll just heal for more health than they have. Like it'll be so overkill, but you can do it if you want, just for the lulz. Who knows, maybe there will be a time when that's used. At the very least, it's like a lay on hands, right? That you can kind of perform once every minute. So that's kind of good. I mean, it's, you know, like getting burst as a Resto Druid is rare, and to be able to do it once a minute just to pick somebody, boom, your full health, that's kind of insane. Assuming your Soul of the Forest and Life Bloom, Soul of the Forest and Nature Swiftness line up. Okay, I mean, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't know what else to say. Yeah. I don't think the class is all that complicated. I don't think there's anything else I need to talk about. Use your free regrowths, guys. Have fun. Take care. Google Doc will be in the description. I will be streaming launch. It'll be a fun time. Come join me. I'll probably be playing my paladin to start with. Then I'll be leveling my holy priest, and then we'll see what I level from there on. Gonna try to get everything done. Hopefully we can level fast. I'm never usually a fast leveler, but I do want to take advantage of the systems. I know you have to get in. There's a lot of beginning stuff that you have to do. So I'm really looking forward to Shadowlands, guys. And I think I will make my alt. Let's see. If we main holy priest, holy paladin, it's gonna be a tough choice between Mistweaver and Resto Druid, probably. So I don't know. Double Life Bloom does sound like a lot of fun, but also the melee build with Tier sounds like a lot of fun too. I don't know. Maybe I'll go Resto Druid because I might be meleeed out if I'm maining my paladin. We'll see. We'll see. Also, it'd be nice just to play a ranged hot healer for once and kind of a slower, more methodically thought out play. Okay, yeah. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. I think I'm gonna put my Gmail in the description, so you can like ask me questions. And then I don't know. One of the ideas like me and a friend had was like maybe if people send in a bunch of questions for me, I'll make like a video for it, and that'll be kind of like a fun content idea or something. If you guys have any idea for like content or stuff that you'd like me to do or see, hit me up. You know, or if you don't want to see me ever again, let me know that too. That works. We can probably arrange that. All right, we're at that 30-minute video mark. I think that's like a thing, right? Bye bye.